Okay, so I changed my mind. I'm not gonna start writing until I finish outlining and keep going through Save the Cat Writes a Novel, because I'm really enjoying it. So far I'm finding it a lot easier to understand the whole structure of my story and how I want to structure it, and what goes next. I just finished writing the debate part, which is the last part of Act 1 before it breaks into Act 2. And I made a decision. I made a kind of a big decision in that debate part, like sort of the main character's reaction to the catalyst. And I don't know, I think it makes sense for that decision to have been made, but I just need to figure out what's sort of gonna happen next before they go through the transformation, I guess. So the author says in the beginning, break into Act 2, it has to be the complete opposite of Act 1. And I'm a bit confused because, so if my Act 1 is not a, like, it's the character being kind of down on her luck or whatever, the beginning of Act 2 needs to be her being up, like on a high, because I read, I think it was in chapter 1, where she says, you know, depending on the character transformation, like, it doesn't really matter, it just follows the same structure. So if your character starts off low, then I'm assuming that Act 2, the beginning of Act 2, the first, because I think I like to look at Act 2 because it's such a big part of the story. I like to break it up into 2 sections, so the first half and the second half, which makes it not really a 3-act structure like we're known to have in storytelling, but it ends up being sort of a 4-act structure. But I like thinking about it that way because obviously the middle of Act 2 would be the 50% of the book, and that's usually where things go down in stories. So anyway, if she starts off low, then I'm assuming she's gonna be pretty high, and then, so does that mean like the 50% is gonna be where she's at her peak, and then she's gonna have a downfall a little bit that's gonna be lower than where she started? Because that's kind of what she says in the book. I think it was in chapter 1 or something, before she kind of goes back up and realizes, you know, has her aha moment. So I'm struggling a little bit because the main character made a decision in the debate that is not the right one, and she won't learn that it's the right one. Like it won't come back to bite her until that aha moment, I'm assuming. I've had 2 coffees, but the second one was decaf because I don't know, today's just been a kind of a bit of a slow writing day. The other thing that I want to try and do is there is going to be a romance, like the B story of this book is going to be a romance, and so that's gonna come up because she wrote in one of the sections that in the setup you meet all the characters that are going to be relevant to your main character's A storyline, and like I said in the previous video, there is a character that plays a big part, but I think she plays a big part in the B storyline, which I guess is the B storyline and the A storyline is going to kind of mesh together, but the B storyline is going to be a little bit of a romance. And I heard about this book called Romancing the Beat, which is I think essentially it's like a writing manual to write romance, and I wanted to check it out. I think Kate Kavanaugh has mentioned it, a couple of other people, Vivian Reese, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she's also mentioned it as well. So I think I want to listen to it. I found it on audio. I couldn't find a physical copy of it, but I'll listen to it on audio and see if I can follow that alongside Save the Cat. So that's my plan for this Act 2 writing session. I am up to the Save the Cat beat number 7, which is the B story, which is to introduce the B story. Yesterday I did the break into 2, which is the beginning of Act 2, but then so I figured out the break into 2, and then I wanted to start the B story. And I think for this, because the B story, the subplot of my story is going to be the romance, I am going to use the Save the Cat beat sheet alongside the Romancing the Beat book. And I don't have a physical copy of that book. I did order it, but I'm not sure when it's gonna come. So I got it on audio because I listen to the Save the Cat on audio while I go through with my pen and highlighter and tabs and everything while I listen to it, because it's easier for me to listen because of my eyes and everything. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm gonna do. So I've outlined the B story the way the Save the Cat is getting me to outline it, and then I am going to listen to Romancing the Beat and seeing how a romance is supposed to build, because I was thinking about this the other, I don't know when, like on the weekend or something. Is my story a romance? Because this main character is going on a bit of a journey, internal one, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on in her life that is not to do with romance, but the love interest is going, I'm gonna make the love interest come in during the second act, during the B plot. That love interest is going to have a romantic relationship with the main character, but they're also going to help my main character see the truth. And when I was thinking that, before I read the beat sheet in this book, I thought that meant that my story was a romance, because I was like, well, the love interest is the one that's gonna help the character see the truth, so does that mean my story is a romance? And I got really confused, but my friend pointed out that if it's like they're just a helper, and that helper, if it seems like that helper can be anything from a love interest to a therapist to a mentor to a like a friend, then it's not really a romance. Like, it's still a like a internal, character journey. And then I read this, so that was before I read this, and then I read this, and she also says that the B story character that you introduce, whether or not it's a love interest or an enemy or mentor or whatever, they have to be the ones to help the main character see the truth in your story. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I have figured out the two main characters, well, like the main character and the love interest. I figured out their names. I really like the love interest's name because I think it really fits. The main character, however, is a little bit tricky because I have two options that I really like. One of them that I'm using in my drafting stage is the one that I think fits the theme a lot more. just the meaning of the name and everything like that, because fun fact about me, I love researching meanings of names. I think it's really interesting to understand the origins of names and like where it came from and what it means and all that. So yeah, the first one that I'm using currently, I think fits the theme of the story, but the other one sounds better. So I don't know. I'm using the one that fits the theme right now, but it might change later on. Anyway, I'm gonna take a break here. I've been sort of neglecting the other stuff that I need to do, which is why I've come up with this schedule of like I need to stop around 12 o'clock, because the rest of the time I need to do like stuff around the house. I need to do a couple of wedding planning stuff, because our wedding is in almost 6 weeks, which is stressful, but I think we got it. So yeah, I need to do a couple of other things, and I can't just be sitting and writing all day, unfortunately. I hope it's the right book. Okay, so I've been writing the B story plus the meet cute, because I've also been following Romancing the Beat, which actually got delivered yesterday, but no one ever buzzes. So I didn't know it was in the mailbox. I didn't know it could fit in the mailbox. So yeah, I'm happy I got the physical copy, because I was listening to the book yesterday and it was hard for me to kind of see which one to write down. So yeah, anyway, so I went through and I could probably read this this book physically, because the font is pretty big, which is nice, but I've already got it on audio and it's nicer to sort of listen to. I've written the meet cute scene and I really like it, because I've made it a point to explore or to make it slightly more obvious that there is it's an internal thing for my main character, but it's an internal thing because it's a health thing that the main character doesn't like to deal with. Like, it's something that she ignores, it's something that she doesn't think is a big deal, even though it is a big deal. And the reason why she doesn't think it's a big deal is it's a learnt behavior of her not really making this health thing a big deal. That's, I don't know if I've said too much but that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, so I wanted the meet cute to also coincide with, or like to braid in, as Gwen would say in Romancing the Beat. I wanted to braid in her internal thing that she hasn't really figured out into the meet cute, because I want the love interest to see it like exactly for what it is. It's the first thing that he notices about her, basically. Does that make sense? I don't know, I feel like it makes sense in my head, but yeah, anyway, so that's all I have for right now. Okay, so I'm up to the fun and games beat in Save the Cat, because I'm also up to the phase 2 falling in love section of Romancing the Beat, and I thought I should outline them sort of together. I'm a little bit confused because in Save the Cat Writes a Novel, she says that this leads up to the midpoint, so you have to decide whether it's gonna be a false defeat or a false victory. And the thing is I think with the way the story is going, I think I should make it a false victory, because she thinks that she's figured it out, basically. And I don't know if I'm supposed to, because I want her to, like, this situation that she's like sort of jumped into in the after the catalyst, and like in the beginning of the second act, is something that I want her to sort of end up with, like this is the right decision for her externally at the end of the story, but I don't want it to be within these circumstances and within the mindset that she has. Does that make sense? And so I don't know if that's like the right way that I should be doing it, because in the beginning of the story, not the beginning, but like after the catalyst, during the debate beat, she sort of makes this leap of faith decision. It was kind of impulsive, although I want her at the end of the book to realize that this new world that she sort of jumped into is the correct path for her. It's just not the mindset that I want her to be in. Does that make sense? So like, I'm like, is that an okay enough? I guess I just have to figure out how to like show that although she's in the right place, she's not doing it for the right reasons. Therefore, she's having this false victory, and then the midpoint is where things will come out, and she'll have a downfall. I think that's how I'm gonna structure it. I think that might still be too hot. So I finally finished outlining part 1 of Act 2. So I got up to the midpoint. I haven't done the midpoint because I think I'll do the midpoint while I'm continuing on, because I just feel like there's going to be a midpoint and then it's going to be the reaction to the midpoint. That's how I'm assuming it's going to go. So I figured I should have sort of a writing flow when I'm writing those two beats. This one, the Act 2 part 1, took me a little bit to write. I think it's mostly because it was almost like I wrote Act 1 and then I was like, oh, now I need to figure out like how, like what the consequences are after the catalyst and after she reacts to the catalyst, I guess. So there was a little bit of just me needing some time to think it over before writing it down. And also I think this, because I started writing the B story as well, and then towards like the fun and game stuff, I had to think about how the B story meshed together with the A story. I think it's coming along pretty okay. There's still like little bits and pieces of detail that I need to sort of figure out. Like for example, how, like, I know it doesn't make, maybe it's not that important, especially at this stage, but her age, I need to figure out her age, because I kind of know around about like how old she is. I just need to have like an exact age for her, because that'll determine sort of her backstory and like her little bits and pieces of her circumstances, I guess. So yeah, I need to figure that out. I know she's like around the early 20s to mid 20s age range. I just don't know exact, because in my head it's important in my head. It might not be important for other people, but it's important in my head to know how old she is, because then that means that I can figure out, okay, so during this time she did this. Even though it's off the page, it'll help me build the stuff that's on the page, if that makes sense. So I need to figure that out. I also need to figure out, although I came up with the catalyst, during the debate beat, where she sort of reacts to the catalyst in some way, there's a little bit of detail that I sort of added, not changed, because I didn't really put this in there, but I added it after writing the B story and the fun and games part of the beat. I had to add a little bit to the debating stage, just so it can be introduced a little bit earlier before the B story comes in and the fun and games beat comes in. Does that make sense? So yeah, those are kind of things that I need to sort of not rethink, just flesh out a little bit in more detail, if that makes sense. Yeah, I wasn't expecting for this part of the outline to take a little bit longer, but now that I've figured all that out, hopefully the second part of Act 2 will be a little bit smoother. I also have decided to change her name. I had like a name for her in the beginning, not because I liked the name, but because I liked the meaning of the name. But I think I'm going to change it. Yeah, I think I'm going to change it, and it's a bit hard to find a name for her. I haven't really found one. I've got one that is sort of what I'm leaning towards, but I'm not 100% like sold on it yet. Actually, that leads me to a great question. How do you name your characters? Do you roll the dice? Do you go on a random name generator? or like, do you do what I do and do a lot of research on like meanings of names and things like that? Let me know that down in the comments below, and like this video if you want to see more from me, and if you want to follow my journey, please consider subscribing. And yeah, I hope you're having a great day. Cheers.